Hello and welcome to this new Android development tutorial. This is part 2 of how to make a calendar application for Android. In the previous tutorial we learned the basics of how calendar view works, we displayed a calendar view, and we overridden the set on date change listener. Okay, see the unselected date change meets out actually. So now we were able to get the selected day, the selected month, and selected year. So if I run the app right now, just to check where we left the app on the previous tutorial, we have our calendar view right here. And if we click on a day, then the information gets updated, right? So now we want to be able to write something on a day, right? So we want to get input from the user. To get input from the user, we will use an edit text. So an edit text enables us to get input from the user, right? So we're gonna say edit text width. So this is after the calendar view, right? So width will be set to, well, this really depends. We can put it after or we can put it before. So let's actually put it before to make it kind of a cleaner view. We can change all of these later, right? So you're gonna say edit text. The width of these will be match parent. The height will be again 40 dp. Okay, and I think the gravity, we don't need the gravity, but we will set the text color to black. Okay, and I'll set the ID as text input because this is the way we will get input from the user. Okay, so now if we go back to main activity.java, what we will do here is we will create our edit text. So we will do it after the calendar view listener. We can move it whatever we want later, but for now we'll do it after, right? So we're gonna say final, final edit text, text input, and I will set this to find view by ID, r.id that text input, right? So now I have access to the text input from the Java code. But now I have to do some UI kind of optimization. So let's run it to see what we have to do. So we want to run it to kind of feel how the app works. Okay, I'm running it now on the emulator. And as you can see, here we just have a white rectangle before the calendar view, but we don't really get it. So here we have this line. This line is the text view. As you can see, I'm typing, and we can type right here. But we want something that will specify us how this will work. For example, let's say we want to so the design will be fixed later, right? So this is just the first kind of a stage of the application. But here I will put a hint. So a hint tells us that this is an edit text and we can write something on it. So here in the edit text XML layout, in the edit text object, we're gonna say hint, and we'll say write something, right? So if we run this, we will see how the hint appears on our edit text on the emulator, right? So right here, as you can see, it says write something. Okay, so let's try to put it below the calendar view to see if it works or not. Okay, so putting it below the calendar view. Okay, let's now run the application. Okay, and it says write something, and if I click on it, I can still write something, which is of course awesome, right? Okay, okay. Looks great actually. So we say write something, so we can store kind of information related to a specific day on our calendar. But now we have to actually kind of store it, right? So we want to have a button that will enable us to save what we wrote. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, let's kind of create a button before you write something thing. And again, don't worry about the UI aesthetics because we will improve that later. So we're gonna say layout width to match parent, height will be set to 40 dp. Okay, and the text of the button will say save content or something like that. Save text, or just save text actually, right? Okay, so and we will add an ID to this button that will be the save text button. Okay, so now let's run the app to check if it works, if the button is shown and everything is working fine. Okay, so here we are, and we can write something. So imagine you write something, and when you're ready, you click on save text, and that text will be saved on the corresponding day. But we don't implement that functionality yet. Okay, so let's try to implement it. So let's think first. We want to save the text to the current day, right? So we'll be basically saving a string. Kind of an efficient way to save a string is creating an array list. So actually what we have to do is, of course we have the text input, but we also have to get the button. So you're gonna say final button, don't forget to import the button class, and this will be the save text button we created, and we will access it by writing find view id r.id dot save text button. Okay, and now what we want to do is we want to know where or when actually that button is being clicked. So we're gonna say save text button dot set Onclicklistener, which enables us to know when that button is clicked, and we will say new Onclicklistener. Okay, so inside of this method, inside this onClick method, we have to perform the logic we want to execute when the save text button is pressed. Okay, so for example, just to test this, I can do whatever I like here. For example, I will say text input that set text, and I will set it to empty. Okay, so kind of nothing. So when I click the button, the text input will be cleared. Okay, so let's try to run the app and check if it works. So now I'm running the app, and I will click and write something to make the keyboard appear, and then write something on the text view, and then I will click on save text. And as you can see, when I click on save text, the write something and the text is cleared and is resetted to empty. So if I can do this over and over again, it will happen as many times as I do it. So the button is working. So this was done to test if the button was working, and it is. So now what we want to do when we click on the Save Text button. So basically what we want to do is we want to get the current day, okay? So we want to get the current day of the calendar, right? So how can we do that? So basically you have two options here. So let's see if the calendar view provides one option. So calendar view that get first day of the week, get the date. So if we do and say get date, then okay, as you can see, the specification of this is get the selected date in milliseconds, okay, since January 1st, 1970, okay. So this returns us the date in milliseconds, okay. And now, so that's a get. If we say set date, we also can set the date in milliseconds, right? Okay. We kind of know how can we what we can do here, right? So we will create an array list. Okay, so we can do this in lots of different ways. For example, we're gonna say list of string, okay, and of course don't forget to import the list class. So list of string, and I'll call this text, or actually calendar text or something like that. Calendar text, okay, or calendar strings. We can then change the name, okay, with that, and we will initialize this to new array list, okay. So basically, when we click on here, what we want to do is we want to save the current content of the text input into the array list, okay. So to save it, so we go, before we set text to empty, we're gonna save the text onto the calendar strings. So we're gonna say calendar strings dot add, and we will add text input dot get text. So when we say get text, we're getting the text that is displayed, or actually in this case the text that the user typed, okay. And since this returns a char sequence, you can say get text and then that to string, right? So this will add the current thing right there, okay. But now we want to know where it's been added. So we want to know kind of which was the day in which this was added. So maybe before adding these, we will add the date actually. So you're gonna say calendar strings that add, and we're gonna say actually calendar view that get date. But remember, get date is long, and we're storing these in strings. So we want to transform these with string value off. So we get the string of this. So we can think a lot of ways of doing this. You can do this in very diverse kind of approaches. But for now, we will use these because it's kind of very simple, right? And we want simplicity. Okay, so that's our the first thing right there. So right now we will run it, and we will actually won't see any visual changes, but the changes will be occurring on code. So if I type something and I click on save text, then it's cleared, but it's not only just cleared but also saved into our array list. But now, how do we know that? Okay, so we have to retrieve that information. Okay, we have to retrieve that information when date is clicked. Okay, so how do we do that? How do we do that? Okay, let's try to figure out a cool way of doing it. So when we override the unselected date change, we want to get if the date is or isn't a kind of a existing or has some sort of a of content, right? So how do we do this? So right here we get kind of the year, the day of the month, and all of that. Okay, so basically, but we here we are storing the date using the long method, the calendar view that get date, which returns a long data type, right? So how do we do it? Well, first, one way of doing it is we will check the list of saved entries, like right here. This means we have to put these before, so we will move this line, the calendar strings, before the set on date change listener. Okay, I'll put it here for now. Okay, so we can access it inside from inside this method. So what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna say view that get date. Okay, get date, and this will return the current date. So this will be a long, right? So we have to check how this will work, right? So let's see if this get date will return the date we were waiting for or not. Okay. So we're gonna do a quick check right here. And what we're gonna do is create a long, and we'll call it saved date. And we'll say this to calendar strings get 0. Why I'm getting 0? Well, because I am getting the 0th element, which is the first one, this one. So this is just for testing. And of course, this is a long and this is string. So we can parse long, do this. Long, parse long, and we do that, right? So now we're gonna say if view that get date equals to save date. Okay, so this is basically saying if the date that the user touched on the calendar is the same date that we saved previously right here, then restore the corresponding text. So in this case, of course, I'm doing everything manually. And what we have to do right here is I will also set this text. I will move this text input before the set on date change listener too. Okay. So what we can do if both dates are equal, are the same, I'm gonna say text input dot set text, and I'll say calendar strings that get 1. So 1 is the second one which was saved previously, right? Okay. Awesome. So now let's see if it actually works. So let's see. So right now I'm on May 12th. So I will write something here. Hello, May 12th. Okay, and I will click on Save Text. So this is cleared. And I will go and press May 13th. And here, as you can see, it still says hello May 12th. And even if so there's the bug there, which is kind of an unexpected behavior. Okay. So we have to change how this works. What we will do instead will be, in order to avoid converting these and having the same format between these two, what we will do here is we will save these parameters, the year, month, and day of month, when the user clicks on a calendar, right? Okay, bear with me. So, what we're gonna do is we will create global variables. So outside the onCreate method, we will create 3 integer variables. So we're gonna say first int, and we can do it private. So private int current year, okay, and I'll set this to 0, okay, and I'll set also private int current month, and we'll also set this to 0, and I'll say private int current, what was the other? Current year, month, and day. So current day, and I'll set these to 0 too. Okay. So for now, if we work only inside the same month, we will only have to check the day. Okay. If we are inside the same year, we only have to check the day and month, right? Otherwise, we have to check 3 integers. Okay. So basically, what we want to do every time this method is called is to update the global variables. So I'm gonna say current year will be set to year, okay, and current month will be set to month, and current day will be set to day. Day of month actually is how this is called. Okay, never mind. So current year is set to year, current month is set to month, and current day is set to day of month. Okay, so basically, since we're changing the method, the way we are saving and retrieving the information, we are just updating the current day, right? Okay, and what we want to do here is the following. Basically, what we want to do, maybe if we want a more performant way of doing this, we can create another array list, or we can do it the same. It really doesn't matter, right? So we will delete this. Okay, and we will only show the text input when the user clicks on a day. So we're gonna go to activity main.xml, and on the text input, so on the edit text, we're gonna set it to, well, actually, what I'm going to do here is I will create a linear layout that will contain these 2 elements, the button and the edit text. So I'm gonna say linear layout with match parent, height, wrap content, and orientation vertical. Okay, and inside this linear layout, I will move these 2 elements, the button and the edit text. Okay, so why do I do this? Well, I want to hide these when it's not needed, so I'm gonna set it visibility to gone, and as you can see, it disappears. Okay, but I have to also show it when it's needed, so I have to add this an ID. So I'm gonna say ID and I'll set it to day contents, or yeah, we can really think of a better name of this, but I'll just call it day content. So day content, so the content of the selected day, and I will go to main activity.java, and since all I want to do with that is show and hide, I will create a view. So you can say final view, find view by ID, r.id dot, what was the name again? I forgot. Oh, day content. Okay, so day content. Oops, I forgot to assign a name. So final view day content is equal to find view by ID, r.id that day content. So every time this is clicked, I'm gonna say if day content is visible. Can we check if this is visible? Is visible. Visible. We get visibility. Okay, if day content get visibility equals to gone. Okay, so if the visibility is gone, we will set day content that set visibility visible. Okay, basically if it's not shown, we're saying please show it. Okay. Okay, so now we will check if that even works. So we will run the app and check if that works or not. Okay, as you can see, we have no added text whatsoever here. But if I click on a date, then this is shown. Okay, the saved text and all of that is shown, and it works. Okay, so yeah, it works great. So what else can we do here? Well, when we set on save, we have to save, but not the current thing. We have to save the kind of these kind of things, the current year, current month, but in the global variables kind of sense. Okay. So if we want to do it in a very modular way, not really the best way, but kind of modular, we would create and save not as strings but as integers. Okay, so we want to save it as integers because we have lots of integers. So we will maybe do the following, and below calendar strings I will say final. So what's going on here? Okay, so this says that we're not using it because, well, we're not there yet, but that's okay. So we're gonna say final list of ints. Is that even possible? I don't think that's possible. No, but we can create an array of integers, right? So we can create an array of integers. So I'm gonna say int array, and I will call it current day, and I'll set this to new int, and for test purposes I'll set it to 30 integers, right? Okay, we can change that, we can modify that and all later. So now, when we click on save, what we have to do is the following. We will go and say current day at 0 in this case will be equal to current day. Now this shouldn't be called current day. This should be called days. just days, you know? This is kind of better way of doing it. So I say days at 0 equals to current day. So we now know the current day, right? Now we're gonna say, and we add this string, okay, that keeps the same. Now inside the unselected day change, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna check if current day, okay, or yeah, if current day equals to days at 0, okay, so if current day equals days at 0, we're gonna go and say text input dot set text, and we will say calendar strings that get 0 in this case, right? So what will happen if we run this? So let's check. Oops. I had a typo here, so let's try to run it now. So I'm running it and I'm checking how it will work. So if I click on these, I write something, I click on save text, I go to 14, nothing happens, I go back to 13, and as you can see, this is being restored. So it's working actually. Now if I go to 14 and I type I am 14 and I click on save text and I go then to 30 and then I go back to 14, it's not working because it's working only with one thing, which was just for one element, which was the 13th. So we will fix all of this and we'll improve and add more features on the next video. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and I see you in the next one. Bye.